Right now, elite military forces are hunting America's most feared bikers in a combat nobody understands. Few civilians know what is happening, and only a few recognize the stakes involved. How did an elite branch of military counterintelligence end up monitoring one of America's oldest outlaw motorcycle clubs? And what did these bikers discover that made them targets? Join us as we dive deep into why decorated veterans are now stalking American citizens. Police in military towns started noticing something odd. During routine traffic stops, officers found that many Hells Angels members had military IDs. These weren't just any veterans. These were recent combat veterans with specialized training backgrounds. The pattern kept showing up in different cities and states too. Too many places reported the same thing for it to be just a coincidence. Law enforcement officials began tracking this trend more closely as combat-trained soldiers were joining one of the most notorious motorcycle clubs in America. What worried law enforcement wasn't just how many veterans were joining the club, but exactly which veterans were showing up. These weren't typical former soldiers having trouble fitting back into normal life. The new members had backgrounds in special operations, intelligence gathering, and combat engineering. They brought skills in advanced weapons handling, tactical operations, and counter-surveillance techniques. This was the kind of specialized military training that turns regular people into either incredibly valuable assets or potentially serious threats. Police departments across multiple states started connecting the dots as the pattern became impossible to ignore, raising serious concerns about what this unusual combination of elite military expertise and outlaw biker connections might lead to. Military intelligence took notice. The Pentagon has long maintained programs to track how its training might be used after service. When analysts spotted this trend accelerating, a dedicated task force was formed under the Army's Criminal Investigation Division, not to prosecute initially, but to understand. The operation was codenamed Broken Wheel, a deliberately mundane name for a mission with explosive implications. Pentagon officials couldn't agree on who should handle the problem. Military authority stops when someone leaves service, but Army investigators felt they needed to step in. They worried that veterans were sharing military skills with biker gangs known for criminal activity. FBI officials pushed back hard. They insisted only they could investigate domestic groups. What started as a simple disagreement quickly turned into a serious fight between agencies. Neither side would back down as the situation spread across more states. Military intelligence eventually won the argument for one main reason. They best understood what these veterans had learned during service. Other agencies simply didn't have this inside knowledge. The special team started small with just 6 agents who had both military experience and law enforcement training. Their job wasn't to make arrests or disrupt the bikers, just to watch and evaluate the situation. This limited role would grow much bigger over the next year and a half as they discovered more connections between military veterans and outlaw motorcycle clubs. Motorcycle clubs and the military have been connected since World War II. When soldiers came home, many missed the excitement, brotherhood, and structure they had in service. Motorcycle clubs offered all 3 things. What began as casual riding groups grew into organized clubs with leadership ranks, territories, and rules of behavior that looked surprisingly like military units in many ways. The Hells Angels became one of the most important motorcycle clubs. Started in 1948 in California, they grew from a small group of former military pilots into a worldwide organization with chapters on 6 continents throughout their history. The club attracted veterans, but something changed around 2010. The type and number of military members joining their ranks shifted noticeably. The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq created a generation of combat veterans with more real-world experience than ever before. Many found it hard to fit back into normal life, feeling bored in regular jobs after years of intense, high-stakes missions. The organized structure and deep loyalty found in motorcycle clubs appealed to soldiers who were used to working in close teams, where trusting each other meant staying alive. Military intelligence analysts found 3 main reasons for this crossover. Combat veterans wanted the excitement and brotherhood they felt during deployment. Veterans with special training were valuable to organizations needing security skills. And money played a role. Some veterans could earn more through club activities than in normal civilian jobs. What worried authorities wasn't just how many veterans were joining, but the targeted recruitment of specific skills. Intelligence analysts discovered that certain Hells Angels chapters actively sought veterans with particular military backgrounds. They especially valued former communications specialists, combat engineers with explosives training, and military police who knew interrogation methods. This wasn't random interest. It was a strategic plan to acquire specific talents. The Army's approach to this situation developed in 3 stages. The first was gathering information, figuring out how big the problem was through analyzing data, watching what happened in the field, and working with local police. What they found was concerning. About 16% of Hells Angels members had military backgrounds, with combat specialties showing up more often than expected. The second phase focused on prevention within the military. The Army updated its Transition Assistance Program to directly warn about outlaw motorcycle club recruitment. Senior officers learned how to spot soldiers who might be targeted for recruitment. Base commanders created stricter rules about motorcycle club symbols and membership on military bases. The third phase was the most controversial: direct action. When intelligence confirmed that sensitive military techniques were being shared within club chapters, the Army changed from just watching to actively stepping in. This wasn't about arresting veterans who joined motorcycle clubs. It was about stopping military skills from being passed to groups seen as possible threats to public safety. The Army's approach favored subtlety over confrontation. Rather than high-profile raids or mass arrests, they used targeted pressure on individuals sharing military knowledge, financial audits, security clearance reviews for veterans still in the reserves, and occasional chance encounters with Army investigators sent a clear message: the military was watching. What made the operation work was not its size, but the strategy. By targeting specific individuals instead of the entire organization, the Army disrupted knowledge transfer networks without causing widespread conflict. It was classic counterintelligence strategy applied on American soil, identifying key people and applying just enough pressure to get the desired results. Military officials are worried because modern soldiers, especially those in special operations, receive advanced training that goes far beyond basic combat skills. They learn valuable abilities like detecting surveillance, handling improvised explosives, secure communication methods, and counterintelligence techniques. All skills that would be extremely useful to any group operating outside the law. Intelligence analysts found 5 specific military skills that caused the most concern if taught to motorcycle clubs. Counter-surveillance techniques that could spot and avoid police monitoring. Secure communication methods developed for war zones. Advanced fighting tactics designed for small teams. Explosives knowledge far beyond what's publicly available. And intelligence gathering methods that could be used for criminal activities. The most dangerous skills came from veterans of special military units. Former military intelligence officers, special forces soldiers, and Navy SEALs knew things that most police departments couldn't handle. This wasn't just something officials worried might happen. Investigators actually found and documented training sessions where military veterans were teaching these skills to other club members who had never served in the military. Case files showed former combat engineers teaching club members how to find electronic surveillance equipment. Ex-communications specialists set up encrypted networks using methods similar to those used in war zones. Former infantry squad leaders ran tactical training sessions that looked just like military close-quarters combat training. This skills transfer wasn't random. It was organized, planned, and working well. What particularly alarmed authorities was how these capabilities were being adapted to civilian contexts. Military training designed for combat zones was being systematically modified for use in American cities. Surveillance detection routes developed for Baghdad were repurposed for Las Vegas. Communication protocols designed to evade insurgent interception were modified to frustrate FBI monitoring. The most concerning pattern involved not just skills transfer, but the development of countermeasures specifically designed to neutralize law enforcement techniques. Veterans with knowledge of government capabilities were helping clubs stay steps ahead of police tactics. This wasn't just applying military training, it was evolving it to meet new objectives in domestic environments. The Hells Angels' response to military attention was characteristically pragmatic. The club had survived decades of law enforcement pressure by adapting rather than confronting directly. This situation was no different. When club leadership realized military intelligence was monitoring veteran members, They adjusted operations without abandoning their recruitment strategy. The most visible change was compartmentalization. Veteran members with sensitive knowledge were insulated from high-risk activities. Club chapters created separation between those who possessed specialized military skills and those involved in activities that might attract law enforcement attention. This wasn't a moral stance. It was operational security designed to preserve valuable human resources. Training methods evolved as well. Early transfer of military skills happened openly during club gatherings. As scrutiny increased, this shifted to small, closed sessions with careful attention to counter-surveillance training locations rotated frequently. Electronic devices were banned during sensitive discussions. The methodologies being taught were military, but so were the precautions surrounding their transmission. Club leadership recognized that their veteran members represented both opportunity and vulnerability. The skills these men brought were valuable, but the attention they attracted created risk. The solution was structural. Veterans with critical skills were positioned in advisory roles rather than direct action capacities. Their knowledge shaped operations, but their fingerprints rarely appeared on activities that might trigger prosecution. This reorganization showed sophisticated understanding of both legal and intelligence realities. By separating knowledge from action, the club created plausible deniability while still benefiting from military expertise. It wasn't enough to prevent monitoring, but it complicated enforcement efforts significantly. Prosecutors might know who taught particular techniques, but proving their use in specific criminal acts became exponentially more difficult. What happened wasn't just a small change, but a big shift in how things worked. The military veterans changed how some chapters operated. Activities became more disciplined, security got tighter, and planning became smarter. The changes weren't obvious, but they mattered. Less public fighting, more careful control of territories, and smarter ways to make money. As the struggle between military intelligence and motorcycle clubs continued, technology became the main battleground. Veterans brought not just fighting skills, but also technical knowledge that changed how clubs operated military-level encryption. Tools to detect surveillance and secure ways to communicate became normal in chapters with many veteran members. Military intelligence found itself in an uncomfortable position. The same technical capabilities they had helped develop for combat operations were being repurposed against domestic law enforcement techniques designed to protect soldiers from insurgents in war zones, were now protecting club members from legal surveillance. The technological arms race accelerated on both sides. Clubs adopted commercial encryption products, thermal imaging to detect surveillance positions, and signal jammers to disrupt monitoring equipment. Military and law enforcement responded with more sophisticated technical surveillance, deeper undercover operations, and increased emphasis on human intelligence rather than technical collection. What made this contest unique was the shared background of the participants. Army counterintelligence specialists found themselves matched against men they had once trained or served alongside. Both sides understood the other's capabilities and limitations intimately. Traditional advantages of superior training and equipment were neutralized when both sides had access to the same knowledge base. The most useful tech changes came from veterans who worked in signals intelligence. These specialists understood not just how to use secure communications, but also where different systems had weaknesses. They set up security methods that mixed digital and non-digital approaches, using technology when helpful, but switching to old-school methods when needed to avoid leaving digital traces. The biggest tech change wasn't about communications or surveillance, but about how information was managed. Veterans with intelligence backgrounds set up need-to-know systems and information compartments that made it much harder for undercover agents to get inside. Infiltrators might join a chapter, but getting into its inner information circles could take many years, with no guarantee of success. The legal side of this conflict was even more complicated than the technology part. Military authorities had strict limits when dealing with veterans who had been honorably discharged. Once a soldier completely left the service, the military's direct power ended. They could keep watching, but any enforcement actions needed partnerships with civilian police. These partnerships created their own problems. Military intelligence couldn't just share their information with civilian agencies Without dealing with complex legal restrictions on domestic intelligence operations, the Posse Comitatus Act limits how the military can be involved in civilian law enforcement. Information gathered for national security reasons faced extra restrictions before it could be used in criminal cases. Creative legal strategies emerged on both sides. Military intelligence focused on veterans still serving in reserve components, where military jurisdiction remained intact. Club chapters with significant veteran membership retained lawyers familiar with both military and civilian legal frameworks, creating defensive strategies that exploited the gaps between different jurisdictional authorities. The most effective enforcement actions came through multi-agency task forces that combined military expertise with civilian legal authority. These operations typically focused not on club membership itself, but on specific criminal activities where evidence was strong enough to survive legal challenges about the origins of the investigation. Prosecutions became increasingly sophisticated, moving beyond traditional charges like drug trafficking or weapons violations. Prosecutors began employing statutes designed for organized crime, particularly the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. These approaches allowed for broader targeting of club operations, but required extensive evidence gathering and faced rigorous defense challenges. What emerged from this legal contest was a stalemate of sorts. Military intelligence continued monitoring veteran involvement in motorcycle clubs, while clubs adapted their operations to minimize legal vulnerability. Direct confrontation gave way to measured coexistence, with each side making tactical adjustments while pursuing their strategic objectives. Today, the relationship between military intelligence and veteran-heavy motorcycle clubs exists in a state of uneasy equilibrium. The Army maintains its monitoring programs but has scaled back direct intervention efforts. Clubs continue recruiting veterans, but exercise greater caution in how military knowledge is integrated into their operations. Both sides have learned to operate with awareness of the other's capabilities and limitations. The pattern that first made the military step in, more combat veterans with special skills joining bike clubs, has slowed down. This isn't because bike clubs stopped wanting these veterans. It's because there are fewer combat veterans now that the Iraq and Afghanistan wars are over. Today's military creates fewer soldiers with the intense combat experience that was common after 9/11. Military preventive measures have shown measurable success. Enhanced transition programs now explicitly address motorcycle club recruitment, helping vulnerable veterans recognize recruitment approaches. Base regulations regarding motorcycle club affiliation have been strengthened across all service branches. These measures haven't eliminated the crossover phenomenon, but they've reduced its pace and visibility. Law enforcement agencies have institutionalized the lessons learned during the peak of the conflict. Training programs for police intelligence units now include specific modules on military tactics that might be encountered in civilian contexts. Interagency cooperation protocols have been formalized, creating clearer pathways for information sharing while respecting legal boundaries. The clubs themselves have evolved as well. The integration of military expertise has become more subtle but no less effective. The most sophisticated chapters maintain a careful balance, benefiting from veteran members' knowledge while ensuring that knowledge doesn't create unnecessary legal exposure. Operational security has become more rigorous, communication more disciplined, and planning more methodical. What hasn't changed is the fundamental attraction between military service and motorcycle club culture. Both environments offer intensity, clear purpose, and brotherhood forged through shared risk. As long as that psychological and cultural alignment exists, the crossover between these worlds will continue. The Army can monitor and mitigate, but it cannot eliminate the connection entirely. The broader implications. This quiet conflict between military intelligence and motorcycle clubs reveals something significant about modern America. The lines between military operations, law enforcement, and civilian organizations have blurred in ways few anticipated. Skills and technologies developed for overseas conflicts inevitably filter back into domestic contexts, sometimes in directions that challenge traditional authority structures. The relationship between America's military and motorcycle clubs shows how advanced skills spread throughout society. When motorcycle clubs recruit veterans with special training, it challenges what we normally think about power. Most people believe government agencies have better training and resources than private groups. But this isn't always true. When private organizations hire people with the same skills as government agencies, those advantages disappear. We see the same pattern in other areas too. Military cybersecurity techniques show up in criminal hacking. Battlefield drone technology influences both businesses and criminals. And military management approaches shape how many different groups organize themselves. This requires thinking differently about training, technology development, and veteran transition programs, with greater attention to how specialized capabilities might be repurposed after military service ends. The ultimate lesson may be that modern conflicts never truly end. They simply transform. Skills and knowledge developed during overseas military operations eventually reshape domestic contexts in ways both subtle and profound. The boundaries between war and peace, military and civilian, and foreign and domestic have become increasingly permeable. In this new landscape, traditional concepts of victory and defeat give way to continuous adaptation and response. The quiet battle between America's military and its motorcycle clubs will never make headlines like overseas conflicts. There will be no decisive victory, no surrender ceremony, and no peace treaty. But in its complexity, persistence, and ambiguity, it may actually represent the future of conflict more accurately than many of the pitched battles that dominate public attention. In aerial warfare, the tide is shifting. Countries have grown smarter in dealing substantial damage and reducing casualties on their own side. A feat made possible by advancements in aerial combat technology, especially drones and lasers. While drone technology deals damage as an unmanned combat vehicle, the world has become wiser to a cheaper alternative to counter them: high-beam lasers. Just how important are lasers and drones in modern combat? How does this affect the future of unmanned combat vehicles? Join us as we discuss the effects of the $10 million United States Army laser technology on drones and aerial combat. Conflict and resolution have always been two concepts ingrained in the very fabric of living and surviving. Hence, for ambitious nations, warfare is almost non-negotiable. However, casualties and an increased depopulation of human life have forcefully created measures and countermeasures in warfare, ushering in the future of land, sea, and aerial combat. While an advance in technology has affected all sides of a war, air power is given more prominence and attention, whether it's for stealth, intelligence gathering, or dealing unfathomable damage. Like Giulio Douhet, an Italian war general, once said, "To conquer the command of the air means victory. To be beaten in the air means defeat and acceptance of whatever terms the enemy may be pleased to impose." World superpowers like the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, and the People's Republic of China have all stood their ground in pursuit of aerially dominant technology, leading to the creation of manned and unmanned combat aerial vehicles, otherwise called UAVs and UCAVs. The use of manned aerial warcraft dates all the way back to the early 18th century, particularly 1794, marking the infancy of aeronautics with the use of hot air balloons. These balloons were first used by the French Aerostatic Corps in the historic Battle of Fleurus. They used the manned craft mainly for reconnaissance, stealth, and intelligence gathering. However, it had too many disadvantages, including the inability to fly in bad weather, fog, or high winds, leaving them at the mercy of nature's tricky climates. Fast forward to the early 1850s, when the Austrians took the use of hot air balloons to a whole new level, floating around 200 paper hot air balloons, each carrying 24 to 30-pound bombs, dropped strategically at the besieged city of Venice, Italy. The use of this ancient technology in the war marked the first time that hot air balloons were aggressively used in warfare. Although some hit their targets, others missed as the wind sometimes changed speed and direction right after launching the bombs. However, as time evolved, so did technology, ushering in the future of aerial warfare: drones. The rise of drones in modern combat dates back to the Great War in the middle of the 1910s. While the British and American forces fought in the war, dealing and receiving heavy blows, causing casualties on their side and the opposition's, they felt the need for an invention that maximizes their attack while reducing casualties. The very first unmanned aerial vehicle was created by the British and tested in 1917 at the dying embers of the First World War. The rationale behind the creation was pretty simple. An aircraft controlled remotely and could fly for long periods of time at a controlled level of speed and height. While the British and the United States armies entered the arms race, the latter got beaten to the punch by just under a year. The British called their first unmanned aerial vehicle the British Aerial Target, otherwise called the BAT. An urban legend has it that the creation of this radio-controlled British aircraft birthed the use of the word drone. Although the war ended just a year after the British released their drone, they continued their production and development of advanced drones right until the Second World War. Although the British Aerial Target was created to intercept the German Zeppelin, a rigid airship developed and used during the Great War, it was never used in actual combat as the radio control was deemed unreliable. While the First World War had officially ended, most of the world saw it as a disillusionment towards the real capability of humanity to exact pain and destruction on each other. Hence, world superpowers such as Great Britain and the United States prepared measures and countermeasures, especially aerially, in preparation for the end of the ceasefire. In 1939, their instincts were proven right as the ceasefire eventually ended, leading to another war breaking out. However, before the war in 1939, the British defense came up with the Tiger Moth aircraft and the Queen Bee. The Queen Bee was designed as a low-cost radio-controlled target aircraft for realistic anti-aircraft gunnery training. If it survived the shooting as intended, by offset aiming, its controller would attempt to recover it for reuse. The emergence of the Queen Bee established the use of the word drone as a reference to unmanned aircraft, given the name and the role of the Queen Bee. Naturally, a drone is a male bee, which makes one flight in search of the female queen bee and then subsequently dies. The DH-82 Queen Bee was designed based on the structural formations of the Tiger Moth variations. It used the engine, unslatted wings, undercarriage, and tailplane of the Tiger Moth. Its optimal structure prepared it for use during the Second World War. Although it was purposed as an unmanned flight to be radio-controlled, they also ensured that it could be manned as a fail-safe against a possible loss of radio control. The Queen Bee had its first manned flight at Hatfield in 1935. Then it was remotely controlled at Farnborough later in the same year. While the British had beaten everyone to the punch in creating an unmanned aerial vehicle, the United States defense followed suit, creating their version of the unmanned aerial vehicle and calling it the Kettering bug. The bug was an experimental unmanned aerial torpedo. Although it was created as an attacking option against Germany, it was never used. During the First World War on May 2017, the United States declared war on Germany. While the Germans showcased their immense bombs and aerial technology with the Zeppelins, the United States secretly sought the help and expertise of Charles Kettering from Dayton, Ohio, asking him to design an unmanned aircraft that could hit a target from a range of about 40 miles. Out of patriotism and a smidge of capitalism, Kettering took on the project, enlisting the help of Orville Wright as an aeronautical consultant on the project. Seeing that the project would not be manned, he enlisted Elmer Ambrose Sperry to design the control and guidance system. The aircraft used a two-stroke V40 horsepower De Palma engine, which was mass-produced by none other than Ford Motor Company for about $40 each. The fuselage was constructed of wood laminates and papier-mâché, and the wings were made of cardboard. Kettering referred to it as the Dayton Wright bug, with each bug commanding at least $400. Although the bug was built, they still had to test its readiness for combat, hence a flight test. The flight test was needed to figure out just how many engine revolutions were needed before the bug reached its destination. Having found that out, they wittingly used a revolution counter to calculate the appropriate numbers and then let down a cam that shut off the engine and retracted the bolts attached to the wings. Consequently, the bug is released with enough force, going in a ballistic trajectory towards its target, aiming to detonate a payload of 180 pounds of explosives upon impact. Theoretically, it was the perfect weapon of destruction with zero casualties on the attacker's side. However, the flight tests weren't consistently successful. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Warfare requires too much precision to allow an inadvertent drop of the bomb on the Allied forces instead of the Nazi Germans. Hence, the seemingly promising project was shut down. While the project had been closed by the government, the United States Army Air Service continued to experiment with it, hoping for some breakthrough, but nothing happened. Instead, they spent way more than required on this white elephant project, with a cost of about $275,000, which is a whopping $3 million of taxpayers' money between its inception in 1917 to March 1920. Although the United States kept it a secret from the world until it was shut down, there is a full-size reproduction of the bug on permanent display, constructed by the museum members of staff, and went on display in 1964 at the National Museum of the United States Air Force in Dayton, Ohio. While the United States failed at the creation of its unmanned aerial vehicle on its first try, it finally figured it out with the production of the radioplane OQ-2. The OQ-2 was originally designed as a radio-controlled aircraft model by Walter Reiter. However, Walter did not own it for much longer when actor Reginald Danny came into the arms business and bought him out of his company. Reginald remodeled the OQ-2 and proposed it to the United States Army in the late 1930s, giving it a different name, RP-2. The Army wasn't convinced at first, so he kept remodeling, hoping to get their attention by creating several updated versions, including the RP-3, and finally a breakthrough model in 1939, the RP-4. The Army made some significant orders in 1940, asking for 53 of the RP-4s. However, as time went on and the technology evolved, they made a larger scale order for the RP-5. The OQ-2 was a rather simple design, lifted by two contra-rotating propellers with a two-cylinder, two-piton engine. It was easily launched by catapult, flown by a controller on the ground, and recovered by a parachute if it survived target practice. It was quite similar in function to the British's DH-28 Queen Bee, which was also used for target practice. However, the OQ-2 had a very feeble weakness, mostly a design flaw. It had no landing gear, hence the need for a parachute to cushion its fall to the ground. While it might be overlooked as a design flaw because it was only meant for target practice anyway, the Queen Bee was different, as it was equipped with landing gear, making it easy for reuse if and only if it survives target practice. Although the flaw was evident in the OQ-2 version, numerous versions and models were mass-produced, including the OQ-3, designated as the TDD-2 by the Navy, and the OQ-14. Neither of them was fitted with a landing gear. While its importance during the war was simply for target practice for anti-aircraft guns, it was mass-produced with the aim of retiring it for simpler roles. For example, in 1950, one of its many derivatives, particularly from the OQ-3, was used to lay military communication wires. However, in 1952, radio planes sold out to Northrop. Fast forward to the late 1990s and early thousands. General Atomics Aeronautical Systems, Inc., a military contractor and subsidiary of General Atomics that designs and manufactures unmanned aerial vehicles and radar systems for the U.S. military and commercial applications worldwide, created an unmanned aerial vehicle capable of remote-controlled or autonomous flight operations. First, they came up with the MQ-1 Predator, which was used in the 90s by the Central Intelligence Agency and the United States Air Force for reconnaissance and stealth missions. It was retrofitted with cameras and sensors to help its navigation when scouting intended areas, which are mostly behind enemy lines. However, the cost of war seemed rather greater than having one unmanned drone for reconnaissance only. When it was capable of doing so much more, it pushed past its limitless potential. Hence, they modified these drones to carry and fire AGM-114 Hellfire missiles or other munitions that could deal just as much destruction on enemy forces. Since the Predator was not designed primarily for combat, it faced a bit of problems, especially with the sizes of ordnance that could be fitted on it, consequently leading to the creation of the MQ-9 Reaper. The Reaper was much bigger than the Predator, meaning that it could carry more payloads and exact even more destruction wherever it was sent. Both drones have been utilized on the same missions at different times, including combat in Iraq and Afghanistan in 2007 and 2008, where they both fired a combination of 244 missiles. However, on the third day of March 2011, the United States Air Force took its final delivery of the MQ-1 Predator in a ceremony at the General Atomics Flight Operation Facility. By 2018, the Reaper and Predator had amassed a flight time of well over 2 million hours, a testament to their enormous service in the Army. By 2018, America saw no need to continue with the MQ-1 Predator drone as they favored the stronger and more reliable MQ-9 Reair, ending the 24 years of service of the Predator. Although it was phased out in the Army and stopped from serving in wars, it was recommissioned to serve in the MQ-1C Gray Eagle derivative for the United States. However, the Reaper remained in the service, marking the creation of the first hunter-killer unmanned aerial vehicle that was designed for long endurance and high-altitude flight and surveillance. In modern warfare, stealth is the name of the game. What is the point of reconnaissance if the drone can be easily spotted? In 2006, Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, General T. Michael Mosley, said, "We've moved from using unmanned aerial vehicles primarily in intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance roles before Operation Iraqi Freedom to a true hunter-killer role with the Reaper." While the Reaper's benefits cannot be undermined, nor its achievements in war be understated, it does cost a lot of money. For some context, the average MQ-9 Reaper aircraft costs a whopping $33 million. Although its uses extend further than the conventional war application to customs and border protection, $33 million on a drone is still considered an eye-watering sum of money. Although the Reaper has become a cornerstone of America's defense, its vulnerabilities in contested areas force uncomfortable conversations about its importance. Nationalists groan and speculate about the use of taxpayers' money. They question if an aircraft whose costs rose from a bare $3 million in the 2000s to over $30 million in 2025 should be commanding that kind of money. With economics and some sense of accountability starting to come into play, the United States is contemplating a tectonic shift from kinetic energy weapons of mass destruction, like the armored tanks, the surface-to-air missiles, otherwise called SAMs, and other explosive weapons to something more economically friendly, like the direct energy weapons, popularly referred to as the DEWs. Weapons that use electromagnetic energy like lasers, microwaves, or particle beams to neutralize their targets fall under direct energy weapons. While these weapons are polar opposites to the conventional kinetic weapons, they seem to sit better with American critics because of their reduced cost compared to the MQ-9 Reaper, for example. While the financial advantages are taken into perspective, the future of warfare is also brought into consideration. Proxy warfare has become the latest form of combat, especially aerially. Countries have become wiser to the ways of guerrilla weapons of mass destruction by creating their own countermeasures, and the United States now looks to keep up with the times with an investment in lasers. A massive population of the world, superpowers or not, now pose a drone threat, and an investment in lasers seems to be the most cost-effective countermeasure. While they have the ability to neutralize targets and cost 3 times less, they have challenges that require a bit more technicality in their production and usage. For some context, they have a shorter range and limited power, and are painfully harder to fix for hardware engineers when something goes wrong, one of the cons of a new high-end technology. Although the technology remains an option for attack and counterattacks in aerial combat, shadows of doubt cloud its capabilities to be fully effective at war, owing to some of its vulnerabilities. While there have been rumors of palletized high energy, or PHEL, being created in an undisclosed location flying around, no one really seemed to know if they were true or not. However, on April 2024, Jared Keller, managing editor of content at military.com, reported that the United States Army officially deployed a pair of high-energy lasers overseas to blast incoming enemy drones out of the sky, the service recently confirmed, marking a major milestone for the United States military's ongoing development of futuristic directed energy weapons. While the Army's top general responsible for the counter-drone program had previously stated that several different laser systems were being experimented on in different parts of the world, including the United States Central Command, United States Africa Command, and United States Indo-Pacific Command areas, he made no mention of a readily available project that could be deployed for war. However, following the news of the 20-kilowatt palletized high-energy laser being deployed for war, the United States confirmed for the first time that the laser had achieved a fatal hit on an incoming drone. The palletized high-energy laser is a military marvel capable of locking onto a drone and shooting it out of the sky. The device weighs an astonishing 7 tons while being about 7 feet long and wide. The left-hand side carries the weapons, while the right-hand side carries the navigation and tracking system used to lock onto drones. The laser weapons work by converting electrical power to an intense barrage of photons. Hence, those photons are narrowed through a beam director, then used to burn through nearly all types of materials. While this sounds like pseudoscience and at least a future away from happening, the United States Army representative has confirmed its existence and use in war. Although it retains a bit of struggle in locking down on a drone long enough to destroy it, they are not that far away anymore. Whether the $10 million palletized high-energy laser would be perfected and probably replace the $30 million drone remains to be seen. In Ukraine, modern warfare now resembles a deadly video game. A $300 young gamer pilot drone can destroy a traditional strategy's $4 million tank while its operator sits miles away. As the war enters uncharted territory, militaries rush to build next-generation weapons like the elusive Ghost drone. Could these drones truly replace human soldiers? And what happens when artificial intelligence takes command of these invisible killers? Join us as we take a closer look at the new Ghost drone that has captured the interest of the RAF and U.S. Army. The humble pigeon carried messages in World War I before machines took to the skies. But when military leaders first glimpsed planes soaring overhead, they knew warfare would never be the same. By 1914, European armies rushed to put eyes in the sky. These early reconnaissance planes were essentially fragile wooden boxes with wings, powered by unreliable engines. Their brave crews would climb into the open cockpits without parachutes. They weren't issued any because commanders believed pilots might abandon their precious aircraft too quickly if given the option to jump. The observers had the nail-biting job of hanging over the side of the plane with heavy cameras, sketching enemy positions, or radioing artillery corrections while trying not to fall out. These slow, clumsy aircraft were perfect targets for the new fighter planes that appeared in 1915. The casualty rates were horrifying. Many crews lasted just weeks before being shot down. This desperate need to gather intelligence without losing pilots sparked the first experiments with unmanned aircraft. Britain led the way in 1917 with the aerial target, essentially a flying bomb that could be radio-controlled from the ground. The Americans followed with their unmanned weapon, the Kettering Bug. This crude but innovative drone could fly 75 miles carrying 180 pounds of explosives, guided by a combination of pneumatics, electrical systems, and gyroscopes. Between the wars, drone development continued quietly with the de Havilland Queen Bee, a modified Tiger Moth biplane that could be controlled remotely. Over 400 of these early drones were built and used for target practice, helping gunners hone their anti-aircraft skills. This is actually where we get the term drone, inspired by the Queen Bee's low, steady humming noise. But it wasn't until the Vietnam War that drones proved their true worth. When Soviet surface-to-air missiles started downing expensive spy planes and their irreplaceable crews, the United States deployed thousands of lightning bug drones. These remote-controlled aircraft could sneak into North Vietnam, take photos, and return, all without risking a pilot's life. While military drones evolved from crude wooden boxes into sophisticated spy planes, who could have predicted that a Chinese college student's solution for taking aerial wedding photos would revolutionize modern warfare? In 2006, Frank Wang, a young engineering student obsessed with remote-controlled helicopters, started DJI in his dorm room. Within 15 years, this small startup transformed into a global giant worth billions, controlling over 70% of the world's civilian drone market. But DJI's affordable, user-friendly drones would soon find themselves far from their peaceful origins of filming weddings and real estate videos. The turning point came after 9/11. As American forces fought in Afghanistan and Iraq, military commanders faced a problem. They needed constant aerial surveillance. But traditional military drones cost millions and required extensive training to operate. Meanwhile, commercial drones were becoming smaller, smarter, and remarkably cheap. DJI's breakthrough came with the Mavic series, compact drones that could fit in a backpack, fly for miles, and stream crystal-clear video to a smartphone. These machines cost less than a laptop but pack sophisticated features like obstacle avoidance, automatic return home functions, and stabilized cameras that could spot a person from hundreds of feet up. Military forces quickly noticed. Ukrainian soldiers discovered that they could modify Mavic drones to drop small bombs or guide artillery fire. Russian troops used them to spot enemy positions. Suddenly, both sides were ordering consumer drones by the thousands. The drone industry exploded. Companies rushed to develop new models with longer flight times, better cameras, and stronger signals. Farmers used them to monitor crops, firefighters to assess wildfires, and construction companies to inspect buildings. By 2020, the commercial drone market hit $13 billion, and this was just the beginning. What makes this revolution different from previous military technologies is its accessibility. Anyone with a few $100s can buy a drone with capabilities that would have seemed like science fiction to military commanders just 20 years ago. The success of commercial drones in combat zones has even influenced military design. Instead of building everything from scratch, many armed forces now modify commercial drones or copy their user-friendly features. Some military units have even recruited civilian drone racers and videographers, turning their hobby skills into vital combat abilities. Today, DJI's headquarters in Shenzhen, China, spans a massive campus where engineers continue developing new drone technologies. As consumer drones flooded the commercial market, military forces started to think, what happens when a $2,000 camera drone can destroy a $4 million battle tank? In the ongoing war in Ukraine, drones come in all shapes and sizes, from tiny quadcopters that fit in your palm to massive unmanned aircraft the size of small planes. Each type has found its deadly purpose in this new age of aerial warfare. At the top end sits Turkey's Bayraktar TB2, a powerful drone with a 39-foot wingspan that can stay in the air for 24 hours. Early in the war, these $5 million machines helped Ukraine stop Russian tanks from reaching Kyiv. They carry laser-guided bombs and can strike targets from heights where they can't be seen or heard from the ground. Iran's Shahed 136 drones take a different approach. These suicide drones are flying bombs powered by small engines. They're cheap to make, about $20,000 each, so Russia launches them in huge swarms toward Ukrainian cities. They fly low and slow, making them hard to spot on radar, and their small size lets them slip through air defenses. But the real game changer has been the modified DJI Mavic 3. Ukrainian soldiers attach small grenades or mortar shells to these commercial drones using 3D printed parts. The drone operators, many former video gamers, use the Mavic's high-resolution camera to spot Russian troops and drop their makeshift bombs with surprising accuracy. These modified Mavics have become so effective that soldiers now fear them more than traditional artillery. A single drone operator, hidden in a basement or forest, can control multiple drones and attack targets miles away without risking their own life. Russian forces have lost hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles to these improvised drone bombers. Both sides have also developed clever tactics. They fly drones at night using thermal cameras that can spot human body heat in complete darkness. Some units use bait drones to draw out enemy positions, while others work in teams. One drone spots targets while another carries explosives. Soldiers have even started surrendering to drones, knowing the machines can direct artillery fire onto them if they don't. The front line has become a complex web of drone versus drone combat. Ukrainian forces report losing up to 10 drones a day to Russian anti-drone systems and gunfire. But as one Ukrainian commander noted, better to lose 1,000 drones than one soldier. The machines have become so crucial that military units now measure their strength not by the number of soldiers or tanks they have, but by how many drones they can put in the air. While modified commercial drones have changed modern warfare, a new breed of advanced military drones is being made in secret facilities across Ukraine. But what happens when these machines become smart enough to hunt and kill on their own? In a hidden factory somewhere in Ukraine, engineers are building one of the most advanced drones in the world, the Raybird 3. Unlike the small commercial drones that swarm the front lines, this sophisticated machine represents the next generation of aerial warfare. With its 10-foot wingspan and sleek design, The Raybird 3 can fly for over 30 hours in temperatures from -22 degrees Fahrenheit to 122 degrees. It soars higher than most anti-aircraft systems can reach and uses special materials that make it nearly invisible to radar. The drone's advanced cameras can read a phone screen from miles away, making it perfect for deep reconnaissance behind enemy lines. But perhaps most impressive is its brain. The Raybird 3 uses artificial intelligence to identify targets on its own. While regular drones need constant human guidance, this machine can search vast areas independently, looking for specific objects or activities. One Raybird has completed over 80 missions deep into Russian territory without being caught, providing crucial intelligence for long-range missile strikes. Meanwhile, a different kind of drone is changing ground combat, the first-person view drone. These remote-controlled missiles are flown by pilots wearing video goggles that show exactly what the drone sees. It's like playing a video game, except the explosions are real. Ukrainian forces have even created special training programs to turn skilled gamers into FPV drone pilots. The selection process is as rigorous as fighter pilot training. Candidates must pass reaction time tests, demonstrate precise control under pressure, and learn to fly while being jammed by enemy electronic warfare systems. The best pilots can guide their drones through windows or down smokestacks to hit specific parts of enemy vehicles. The latest versions of these specialized drones use hydrogen electric engines that run almost silently and produce minimal heat, making them extremely hard to detect. Some models now carry advanced explosives that can penetrate tank armor or scatter fragments like a shotgun blast. The technology race is accelerating. New Ukrainian drones can now work in teams, sharing information and coordinating attacks. Some can launch from underwater or disguise themselves as birds. Others use quantum sensors to navigate without GPS and artificial intelligence to avoid anti-drone weapons. The Raybird's makers are already working on the next version, which will be fully autonomous, able to take off, complete its mission, and return without any human input. This raises serious questions about the future of warfare, as machines become increasingly capable of making life and death decisions on their own. The cost difference is staggering. While a traditional fighter jet costs around $100 million, these advanced drones cost between $250,000 and $1 million, yet can often accomplish the same missions with no risk to human pilots. As drones become smarter and deadlier, militaries face a crucial challenge. How can they find a way to shut down these robotic hunters before they strike? Russia has become particularly skilled at this hidden warfare, creating electronic bubbles that can disable or confuse enemy drones from miles away. At the heart of this electronic defense is signal jamming. Think of it like a very powerful radio station broadcasting noise on all frequencies that drones use to communicate with their operators. When caught in these electronic storms, even advanced drones can lose their way, crash, or automatically return home. The Russian military uses sophisticated systems like the Krasuka 4, which can create a protective dome up to 150 miles wide. Inside this dome, drones lose GPS signals. Their video feeds go dark and their control links fail. Some Ukrainian soldiers report that their drones start acting drunk, spinning in circles, or flying in random directions before crashing. But drone makers are fighting back. New drones use frequency hopping technology, jumping between different radio channels thousands of times per second to avoid jamming. Others carry mini-computers that let them continue their mission even if they lose contact with their operator. The latest models even use artificial intelligence to detect and avoid areas where jamming is strong. The most effective anti-drone weapon isn't even military technology. It's a civilian device called the Aeroscope, made by DJI, the same company that makes many of the drones used in combat. This suitcase-sized system can detect DJI drones from miles away, showing operators exactly where the drone and its pilot are located. Russian forces use this information to target drone operators with artillery fire, forcing them to pack up and move within minutes of launching their drones. Ukrainian forces have developed clever countermeasures. They set up dummy launch sites to trick Russian artillery, use special shielding to hide their electronic signatures, and modify their drones to be invisible to detection systems. Some units even purposely fly old, expendable drones into jamming zones to map out where these electronic defenses are located. The constant back and forth has created a technological arms race. Each new drone protection system leads to new ways to defeat it. Soldiers now carry electronic warfare detectors that warn them when they're being scanned by enemy systems. Some drones even have kamikaze modes. If they detect they're being jammed, they'll lock onto the source of the jamming signal and crash into it. While armies race to control the invisible electronic battlefield, a more profound change is taking place on the ground. As traditional military tactics crumble, are we witnessing the end of warfare as we've known it for thousands of years? The rules of war that generals have relied on for centuries are being rewritten by drones. In Ukraine, tanks that once dominated battlefields now hide in forests, too afraid to move in daylight. Infantry soldiers dig their trenches deeper and deeper, knowing that tiny cameras in the sky are always watching. A Ukrainian doctor from the 56th Brigade explains how even saving lives has changed. We can only evacuate wounded soldiers at night now. In daylight, Russian drones will spot us and direct artillery fire at the medics. This new reality has forced medical teams to create elaborate underground bunker networks for treating casualties. The psychological impact is intense. Soldiers describe the constant buzz of drones as psychological torture, never knowing if the sound above means death is coming. Veterans who fought in previous wars say this constant surveillance creates a unique type of stress. The numbers are staggering. Military experts estimate that at any given moment, up to 10,000 drones are flying over Ukraine's front lines. Every square mile of the battlefield is watched by multiple drones, turning the entire war into what soldiers call a deadly game of hide and seek. Traditional military training has had to change completely. Instead of practicing formations and tactics that worked for hundreds of years, soldiers now learn to camouflage themselves from thermal cameras, how to spot different drone sounds, and when to move between positions without being seen from above. Tank crews have developed new survival tactics. They only move in bad weather when drones can't fly, or they travel under camouflage nets strung between trees. Some units paint their vehicles with special thermal blocking paint to hide from drone cameras at night. Despite these precautions, Ukraine claims to have destroyed over 2,000 Russian tanks using drones. Even simple tasks like delivering supplies have become complex operations. Supply trucks now move in small groups at night, using back roads and forests for cover. Some units have started using electric vehicles because they produce less heat for drone thermal cameras to detect. The most dramatic change is in how armies measure strength. Before drones, military power was counted in tanks, artillery, and soldiers. Now commanders care more about how many drone operators they have and how well their electronic warfare systems work. As the battlefield adapts to these game-changing technologies, the question looms: how will the future of warfare evolve in the age of artificial intelligence and autonomous machines? Drone warfare is on the brink of a transformation that could redefine how conflicts are fought. At the center of this shift is the rapid integration of artificial intelligence into military drones. Companies like Skyon have developed onboard AI systems, allowing drones like the Raybird to identify and target enemies autonomously. This means operators no longer need to monitor screens for hours, reducing the risk of fatigue and human error. The Raybird, now armed with bombs, is a clear example of how technology is removing humans from direct decision-making in combat. This shift raises complex questions about control and accountability. With machines making decisions in real time, who takes responsibility for errors or unintended consequences? As the reliance on AI grows, this debate will only become more urgent. Another development shaping the future of drone warfare is large-scale deployment. The skies over Ukraine are a stark example. Combat drones from both sides constantly patrol, monitor, and strike. In some cases, reconnaissance drones cross paths mid-mission, highlighting how crowded these airspaces have become. The European Union recently announced plans to provide Ukraine with 1 million new drones. This massive supply underscores the strategic importance of drones in modern warfare. To manage this influx, Ukraine is establishing a dedicated drone command. This move demonstrates a broader trend. Militaries are not just adopting drones, but rethinking their entire organizational structures to incorporate them effectively. The implications extend beyond the battlefield. Autonomous target identification and large-scale deployment raise concerns about escalation and accessibility. As the technology becomes more widespread, even smaller nations and non-state actors could gain access to powerful drones. The balance of power in global conflicts may shift as advanced technologies become easier to acquire and deploy. Looking further, the integration of AI could lead to drones that communicate and operate as coordinated swarms. This would amplify their effectiveness, making it harder for traditional defenses to counter them. These advancements push the boundaries of what drones can achieve while raising ethical and strategic questions that global leaders must address. One thing is clear, though: drones are no longer just tools. They are now responsible for shaping a new era of combat. As artificial intelligence and autonomous systems take center stage, the world must take advantage of the opportunities and find a way to manage the risks they bring to the minimum. However, at these rates, these advancements may very well usher in a future where human soldiers are no longer part of the equation, even sooner than expected. America secretly launched the biggest drug war in history, and nobody saw it coming. While politicians threatened to bomb Mexico, the real battle was already happening on the open seas, with ghost submarines, billion-dollar military operations, and high-tech weapons that sound like science fiction. But how did the U.S. turn the entire ocean into a battlefield? And what weapons did they unleash against the cartels? Join us as we see how the United States uses its destructive power to attack Mexican cartels. The meeting room fell silent when President Trump floated the idea. Missile strikes on Mexican drug labs. Public denial if anyone asked questions. Former Defense Secretary Mark Esper would later reveal this shocking conversation in his memoir, exposing a moment when America's drug war nearly became an actual shooting war. The proposal wasn't random. By 2021, fentanyl overdoses were killing 83,000 Americans every year. The synthetic opioid had tripled its death toll between 2016 and 2021, creating a crisis that traditional law enforcement couldn't touch. Drug labs operated openly across Mexico, while tons of deadly powder flowed north across the border. The American public demanded action. Politicians needed answers. In the halls of Congress, two Republican lawmakers saw an opportunity. Congressman Dan Crenshaw from Texas and Mike Waltz from Florida drafted legislation that would change everything. The Authorization for Use of Military Force Cartel Influence Resolution borrowed language directly from the 2001 war authorization that launched America's fight against terrorism after September 11. The bill's wording was deliberately broad. Any president could use all necessary and appropriate force against foreign organizations involved in drug trafficking or territorial control through violence. The legislation listed 9 specific cartels by name, including the powerful Sinaloa and Gulf organizations. More dangerous still, it gave the president sole authority to determine which groups qualified for military action. Legal experts immediately grasped the implications. This wasn't just authorization for targeted strikes. The phrase necessary and appropriate force, combined with presidential discretion over which nations were affiliated with cartels, could justify a full-scale invasion of Mexico. The legislation essentially handed any future president a blank check for war. While Crenshaw dismissed criticism as hysteria, other lawmakers were pushing complementary measures that built a legal framework for military action. The House Foreign Affairs Committee advanced the Project Precursor Act, requiring the State Department to classify fentanyl as a chemical weapon under international law. Chairman Michael McCall called it exactly that, claiming cartels were using chemical weapons to perpetrate mass killing of Americans. The chemical weapons designation carried explosive legal consequences. International law permits military responses to chemical weapons attacks, even without explicit congressional approval. Syria had learned this lesson when President Trump ordered missile strikes in 2017 and 2018 after Damascus used chemical weapons against its people. The precedent was clear. Chemical weapons could justify unilateral military action. 18 state attorneys general escalated the rhetoric further, formally requesting that President Biden designate fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. The letter invoked memories of the Bush administration's justification for invading Iraq. A Justice Department legal opinion from that era concluded that presidents have constitutional authority to use force against weapons of mass destruction threats, even without Congress. Senator Lindsey Graham introduced his own legislation designating 9 Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. The designation would impose financial sanctions and criminalize any support for these groups. More significantly, it would place cartels in the same legal category as Al-Qaeda and other organizations America has spent decades fighting with military force. Each piece of legislation built upon the others, creating overlapping justifications for military action. Chemical weapons, weapons of mass destruction, terrorist organizations, authorization for unlimited force. The legal architecture for war was taking shape in Washington while cartels continued their operations across the border, unaware that America's political establishment was seriously considering turning the metaphorical war on drugs into something far more literal and devastating. While politicians debated war, cartels were already building one? But where? Deep in the Colombian jungle, the sound of hammering echoes through humid air, thick with mosquitoes and diesel fumes. Under a canopy so dense that satellites cannot penetrate, teams of workers shape fiberglass and wood into something that shouldn't exist. They're building submarines by hand, using blueprints drawn by men who never attended naval engineering school. The first narco submarine appeared in the 1980s as a simple underwater tube towed behind fishing boats. Colombian cartels learned quickly that the ocean floor hides better than any warehouse. By the 1990s, they had graduated to self-powered vessels, constructed in remote jungle clearings where military patrols rarely venture. Today's narco submarines represent a quantum leap in criminal engineering. These 80-foot vessels can travel 2,500 miles without refueling while carrying 10 tons of pure cocaine. Each submarine costs between $1 and $2 million to build in secret workshops, but the cargo they transport sells for over $150 million on American streets. 5 crew members endure weeks in cramped, overheated compartments with minimal food and no communication with the outside world. The submarines operate just below the surface, leaving almost no wake for patrol aircraft to spot. Engineers paint them blue-gray to match ocean colors, while streamlined hulls slice through water with minimal disturbance. Some models include lead lining that blocks heat signatures from military thermal imaging systems. The most sophisticated versions can dive completely underwater for short periods, disappearing from radar and sonar detection entirely. When authorities do locate a narco submarine, capturing it becomes nearly impossible. Each vessel includes specialized scuttle valves that can flood the compartments within minutes. Crews open these valves the moment they spot military aircraft or patrol boats, sending millions of dollars worth of evidence to the ocean floor in waters thousands of feet deep, where recovery is impossible. The submarine threat reached global proportions in 2024 when Operation Orion intercepted a vessel bound for Australia. The submarine had traveled over 10,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean, proving that cartels now possessed intercontinental capabilities. Intelligence agencies suddenly realized they were tracking not regional smuggling operations, but a shadow navy with worldwide reach. Above the surface, go-fast boats present an equally formidable challenge. These 30-foot vessels mount 3 or 4 250-horsepower outboard motors, creating floating rockets capable of exceeding 80 miles per hour on open water. Drug runners paint them ocean blue and load them with 2,000 gallons of extra fuel, enabling 500-mile journeys without stopping. The boats trace their lineage to Prohibition-era rum runners who perfected the art of outrunning Coast Guard cutters in the 1920s. Modern cartels simply updated the concept with contemporary technology. Each go-fast carries a single pilot to maximize cargo space, racing across international waters faster than most patrol boats can follow. The Coast Guard responded by creating hit-drawn helicopter teams equipped with precision rifles and trained snipers. When patrol aircraft spot a fleeing go-fast, helicopters swoop down from above, while marksmen use .50 caliber rifles to disable engines without harming crew members. The tactic proved so effective that cartels began disguising their speedboats as fishing vessels and developing hybrid craft that combine submarine stealth with surface speed. Intelligence estimates suggest that for every narco submarine or go-fast boat intercepted, 3 or 4 complete their missions successfully, delivering billions in drugs while their invisible armada grows stronger. How did 62 nations unite to destroy cartel empires? As drug cartels became too powerful for any single nation to manage, the world decided to collaborate. In January of 2012, an alliance was formed with a strong name for a challenging mission: Operation Martillo, meaning hammer in Spanish. 14 countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Spain, Guatemala, and Honduras, joined forces. Operation Martillo was not just another failed drug war initiative. It targeted the cartels where it hurt most: their shipping routes. Military ships, aircraft, and special forces patrolled the waters between South America and the United States, creating a formidable barrier for drug shipments to navigate. The results were swift. In the first year alone, authorities arrested 339 smugglers and seized 101 boats carrying drugs. In 2011, the operation confiscated 119 tons of cocaine, worth an estimated $2.35 billion on American streets. Authorities also seized $21 million in cash heading back to the cartels and $16 million worth of goods used to conceal or transport the drugs. Operation Martillo was only the beginning. In late 2024, Operation Orion took the multinational effort to a new level. This time, 62 countries participated, ranging from small nations with limited coastlines to major powers with large navies. Over 6 intense weeks, they shared intelligence, tracked suspicious vessels, and intercepted drug shipments across global waters. No previous drug operation had matched the success of Orion. The operation seized 225 tons of cocaine in one sweep, a world record. When combined with more than 1,000 tons of marijuana and other drugs, the total haul exceeded $8.5 billion in street value. Each country brought distinct strengths to the effort. The Americans provided advanced radar systems capable of detecting small boat wakes from satellites. The Dutch contributed underwater drones to inspect ships. Colombian forces used their expertise to locate launch sites in the jungle. Even landlocked nations are assisted by tracking money and communications. What made Orion revolutionary was not just its scale, but its advanced coordination. Military commanders from numerous countries collaborated in real-time command centers, sharing live intelligence and executing raids across multiple time zones simultaneously. When smugglers attempted to alter their routes after hearing about a bust, they would end up sailing into another country's patrol zone. These operations did more than remove drugs from the streets. They collected valuable intelligence. Each captured sailor, boat, and communication device offered new insights into cartel operations. Smuggling route maps became more detailed, and lists of cartel contacts grew longer. With every bust, the price of cocaine on American streets increased as supplies dwindled. The message was clear: the open seas were no longer safe for drug traffickers, regardless of how advanced their hiding methods were. With nations united against them, cartels required more effective tools to evade capture. But cartels didn't anticipate America's secret weapon at sea. How did one ship alone cost drug lords $500 million? In early 2025, one ship instilled fear in drug lords across South America. The United States Coast Guard cutter James became a floating nightmare for cartels during a relentless 112-day mission that drug kingpins still discuss in hushed tones. The cutter James is no ordinary vessel. At 418 feet long, this legend-class cutter is like a floating city with one purpose: hunting down drug smugglers. It carries a crew of 150 highly trained men and women who work in shifts around the clock. The ship can remain at sea for months without returning to port, making it the perfect predator for tracking drug routes. What made the 2025 mission extraordinary was its remarkable success. In just under 4 months, this single ship seized over 48,000 pounds of narcotics, enough to supply a mid-sized American city for a year. The street value reached approximately $510 million, making it one of the most financially devastating blows ever dealt to cartel operations. The January operations were particularly impressive. On January 5th, the ship's crew launched a drone that spotted a suspicious vessel off Ecuador's coast. Unlike regular military drones, the Coast Guard uses special maritime models that can fly for 18 hours straight while carrying advanced cameras capable of reading a boat's name from miles away. The drones silently tracked the vessel from high above until boarding teams swooped in, catching 3 smugglers with over 2,025 pounds of cocaine. Just one day later, on January 6th, they hit the jackpot. Maritime patrol aircraft working with the cutter James spotted 3 go-fast boats traveling together, an unusual and risky move for smugglers. Using their helicopter teams, they managed to stop all 3 boats in a perfectly coordinated operation, capturing 9 suspects and an enormous haul of 13,960 pounds of cocaine. The smugglers changed tactics on January 7th, deploying a low-profile vessel, a boat specifically designed to avoid radar detection. But the hit-run helicopter crew was ready. Using precision shooting skills, they disabled the boat's engines without harming the crew. Another 8,240 pounds of cocaine never made it to American streets. When smugglers tried to escape capture by dumping their cargo on January 18th, the cutter James didn't give up. Its high-speed pursuit boats chased down the smugglers, while other team members retrieved the floating drug packages from the sea. The recovered cargo, nearly 6,000 pounds of cocaine, would have brought cartels millions in profits. The Navy joined forces as well. Ships like the USS Minneapolis-St. Paul and USS St. Louis conducted their own busts in the Caribbean, adding hundreds more kilograms of captured cocaine to the total. These operations struck the Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation cartels especially hard. Intelligence gathered during the missions revealed key smuggling routes, identified cartel members, and exposed new trafficking methods, all of which are now being used to plan the next wave of interdictions to further disrupt these criminal empires. But who controls these floating fortresses stalking the seas? Inside a nondescript building in Key West, Florida, sits the nerve center of America's maritime war on drugs. The Joint Interagency Task Force South operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, orchestrating the most complex anti-narcotics campaign in history. The command center resembles a high-tech war room from a blockbuster film. Massive wall-mounted screens display real-time maps of the Caribbean and Pacific, dotted with hundreds of moving icons representing every vessel, aircraft, and submarine in American territorial waters. Each blinking light tells a story. Friendly naval patrols, commercial shipping, suspicious go-fast boats racing through the darkness, or semi-submersible narco subs creeping beneath the waves. At workstations arranged in precise rows, analysts from a dozen different agencies monitor the digital battlefield. FBI counterintelligence specialists sit alongside Navy radar operators. DEA drug enforcement experts collaborate with Coast Guard boarding teams. CIA analysts share classified intelligence with customs officers tracking suspicious cargo movements. Representatives from allied nations, Colombia, Panama, and the Netherlands provide real-time updates from their own patrol zones. The integration runs deeper than shared office space. When a surveillance satellite detects an unusual heat signature off the Colombian coast, that information instantly appears on screens throughout the facility. Within minutes, analysts cross-reference the coordinates with known smuggling routes, weather patterns, and the current positions of American interdiction assets. A Coast Guard cutter 300 miles away receives new orders. A Navy helicopter launches from a forward base. A drone silently adjusts course to begin tracking the suspicious contact. This seamless coordination represents a revolutionary approach to maritime law enforcement. Traditional drug interdiction relied on chance encounters, patrol boats stumbling across smugglers during routine sweeps. JAF South transformed that reactive strategy into a predictive science. Powerful computer algorithms analyze years of seizure data, weather patterns, economic indicators, and cartel communication intercepts to generate probability maps showing where drug shipments will most likely appear. The command center maintains direct communication links with assets across 2 oceans. When USS Minneapolis-St. Paul reports radar contact with 3 high-speed vessels traveling in formation, JIDF analysts immediately recognize the signature of a major cocaine shipment. Within seconds, they vector additional ships toward the intercept point while launching maritime patrol aircraft to provide aerial surveillance. The response unfolds with military precision. LEDET teams, law enforcement detachment units, serve as the operational bridge between military assets and law enforcement authority. These specially trained Coast Guard personnel deploy aboard Navy warships, solving a critical legal challenge. Military forces possess sophisticated detection equipment and heavy firepower, but lack arrest authority in peacetime operations. Coast Guard teams bring that legal mandate, transforming destroyers and frigates into floating police stations. The technological edge extends beyond traditional radar and sonar systems. Advanced synthetic aperture radar can distinguish between different vessel types from orbit, identifying the distinctive wake signatures of narco subs running just below the surface. Infrared sensors detect the heat signatures of multiple outboard motors characteristic of go-fast boats. Communication intercept equipment monitors radio chatter and cell phone calls, often providing advance warning of planned smuggling runs. Intelligence flows in both directions through the network. Every interdiction generates valuable data about cartel operations, smuggling routes, and trafficking methods. Captured GPS devices reveal hidden supply caches. Arrested smugglers provide information about organizational structures. Seized communications expose cartel leadership hierarchies and financial networks. The command center maintains strategic partnerships extending far beyond American territorial waters. When British naval forces operating in the Caribbean spot suspicious activity, that intelligence immediately reaches Key West. Dutch patrol vessels near the Venezuelan coast share radar tracks with American analysts. Colombian Marine units conducting riverine operations upstream report trafficking patterns that help predict coastal interdiction opportunities. This networked approach fundamentally altered the strategic balance in America's maritime drug war. Cartels once operated with impunity across vast oceanic expanses, confident that the sheer scale of international waters provided adequate protection. JAF South eliminated those safe havens by creating an integrated surveillance network spanning thousands of square miles of ocean. The psychological impact on trafficking organizations proved equally significant. Smugglers no longer face isolated patrol boats operating independently. They confront a coordinated intelligence apparatus that tracks their movements from production facilities in South America to distribution networks in North America. Every captured shipment provides additional data points, gradually mapping the entire criminal enterprise. From this Florida command post, America projects maritime power across two hemispheres, turning the open ocean into a controlled battlefield where drug traffickers face overwhelming technological and operational disadvantages. The United States has just released a fighter jet so advanced, it could make entire defense networks obsolete before their leaders even realize it. This sixth-generation marvel glides invisibly through enemy skies, outsmarts the most sophisticated radars, and turns traditional warfare into history. With technology that seems ripped from science fiction, it's a ghost in the air, untouchable, unstoppable, and rewriting the rules of military dominance. Will this aircraft shift global power? What does this mean for the future of warfare? Join us as we find out all about the new sixth-generation fighter jet that has left NASA's military experts shocked. When military engineers set out to design the next-generation fighter jet, they weren't just looking to make it faster or more powerful. They wanted something revolutionary, an aircraft that could think for itself. The goal wasn't just to improve on existing technology, but to create a machine capable of making split-second decisions, adapting to threats in real time, and outperforming even the most skilled human pilots. What they built wasn't just a jet, it was an intelligent learning machine unlike anything seen before. At the heart of this innovation is an advanced artificial intelligence system that is completely transforming what we know about aerial combat. To put it to the test, the AI went up against some of the best F-35 pilots in the country in high-stakes simulated battles. The results were nothing short of astonishing. AI won 90% of the time, accurately predicting enemy movements and countering attacks with precision no human could match. This AI doesn't just respond, it predicts. By analyzing enormous amounts of combat data in mere microseconds, it can recognize attack patterns before they even take shape. In one impressive test, the system detected a complex enemy strategy seconds before a human pilot would have even realized the threat, giving a critical edge in battle. But this technology isn't just about outmaneuvering opponents in simulated dogfights. The AI's abilities go far beyond that. It can coordinate up to 5 high-tech combat drones at the same time, each equipped with its specialized weapons and sensors. These drone wingmen can pull off extreme aerial maneuvers that would push a human pilot past their physical limits, forming a responsive and adaptable combat team that adjusts to threats in real time. One of the most fascinating features is the neural interface system. It's designed to anticipate what the pilot needs before they even ask, like having an incredibly smart co-pilot. This allows pilots to stay focused on bigger strategic decisions while the AI takes care of the finer details, from tracking threats and managing weapons to adjusting flight dynamics on the fly. Quantum sensors embedded within the system give the jet an unparalleled ability to monitor its surroundings in real time, detecting even the most subtle changes in electromagnetic fields. This heightened sensitivity provides an advanced level of situational awareness, allowing the aircraft to identify potential threats that would remain undetectable using conventional sensing technology. Beyond simply gathering information, the jet's cognitive electronic warfare system actively adapts and evolves. Rather than just reacting to enemy tactics, the AI continuously refines its strategies with every encounter, analyzing patterns and weaknesses to develop more effective countermeasures. This constant learning process ensures that the aircraft not only keeps pace with adversaries, but consistently stays several steps ahead, making it a formidable force in modern air combat. The AI's resilience in compromised conditions sets it apart from traditional systems. Even in environments where GPS is jammed, communications are disrupted, or sensors are interfered with, the aircraft remains fully operational. Equipped with advanced navigation technology that functions without satellite assistance, it can autonomously adapt to mission objectives, making independent tactical decisions when isolated from command structures. This shift represents more than just an upgrade in hardware, it signals a transformation in modern air combat. Military analysts view this as a fundamental redefinition of strategy, where intelligence outweighs sheer firepower. The distinction between pilot and aircraft is becoming less defined, forging a new era of human-machine integration that could change the way wars are fought. Test pilots have described the experience as having an entire team of specialists working alongside them in the cockpit. The artificial intelligence system processes vast amounts of data in real time, assisting with everything from threat detection to tactical decision-making. With each mission, the AI refines its capabilities, learning from past encounters and continuously improving its responses. This ever-evolving intelligence ensures that the aircraft becomes more effective over time, adapting to new challenges and staying ahead of potential threats in an increasingly complex combat environment. But if an AI can outthink a human, what gives this fighter jet the ability to stay hidden from the world's most advanced detection systems? When military researchers first began developing stealth technology, they knew they were pushing the limits of what was possible. Early methods worked to some extent. Much like wearing dark clothing at night, it helped, but it wasn't foolproof. Years of innovation, however, led to something far more advanced, a system that allowed the aircraft to virtually disappear from detection. The key breakthrough came from an unexpected partnership between the Air Force and scientists at MIT. Together, they created a groundbreaking material that goes beyond simply absorbing radar signals. It actively alters them. When radar waves strike the aircraft's surface, they are converted into an almost undetectable amount of heat, making the jet nearly invisible to tracking systems. It's the equivalent of trying to pick out a single snowflake in the middle of a raging blizzard. This is far more than simple camouflage. The aircraft's outer surface actively adjusts to counter whatever detection system is trying to track it. Equipped with quantum sensors that constantly scan the surrounding electromagnetic environment, the jet can modify its stealth properties in real time, making split-second calculations and adjustments with every passing millisecond. Its radar cross-section, essentially how large it appears on radar, has been reduced to a size smaller than a marble. For comparison, the previous stealth leader, the F-22, appeared roughly the size of a golf ball. This breakthrough means that despite its massive weight and size, the aircraft can all but vanish from radar screens, making it nearly impossible to track. Managing heat signatures has reached an entirely new level. Conventional aircraft leave behind thermal trails that make them easy targets for heat-seeking missiles. This next-generation fighter, however, disperses its heat so evenly that infrared sensors struggle to distinguish it from the surrounding air. In testing, even the most advanced tracking systems failed to maintain a lock, despite having a general idea of where the jet was supposed to be. Beyond simply avoiding detection, its electronic warfare capabilities add another layer of stealth. The aircraft doesn't just disappear, it actively misleads enemy systems. By bouncing back manipulated signals, it can generate multiple false targets, forcing defensive networks to waste valuable time and resources chasing threats that don't exist. The surface coating marks a breakthrough in engineering. Unlike earlier stealth aircraft that required constant upkeep and specialized hangars, this advanced material remains effective under extreme conditions. Heavy rain, sandstorms, and drastic temperature shifts have no impact on its ability to stay hidden. One of its most impressive capabilities is the ability to enter what engineers refer to as silent mode. In this state, all electronic emissions, radio signals, radar pulses, and system communications are reduced to almost nothing. The jet effectively becomes a technological phantom, moving undetected through contested airspace. Managing these intricate stealth features isn't left to the pilot alone. An advanced AI system handles thousands of calculations every second, making real-time adjustments based on the surrounding threat environment. Even in controlled war games where opponents had a general idea of its location, they repeatedly failed to track it. This goes beyond military dominance. It signals a complete transformation in the way detection, concealment, and adaptive technology are understood. The boundary between what can and cannot be seen has been redefined, reshaping the future of stealth technology in ways that extend far beyond a single aircraft. If this aircraft can effectively vanish from detection, how does it produce the energy needed to execute these advanced maneuvers without giving away its position? When engineers at Pratt and Whitney and General Electric set out to develop a next-generation engine, they were tackling a challenge that seemed almost unattainable. The goal was to create an engine that could surpass the capabilities of every existing fighter jet, pushing the limits of aerospace engineering. What resulted was an innovation that completely transformed the way aircraft propulsion is understood. The adaptive cycle engine introduced a groundbreaking shift from conventional jet propulsion. Unlike earlier models that required pilots to compromise between raw speed and fuel efficiency, this new design seamlessly balances both. It can transition between high-power performance and fuel-conserving modes in a matter of milliseconds, effectively granting the aircraft three distinct operational settings. During early testing, the engine delivered performance levels that exceeded expectations. It produces 30% more power than the F-35's engine while using 25% less fuel, a leap forward comparable to designing a sports car that outpaces a luxury supercar while maintaining the efficiency of a hybrid sedan. A breakthrough came in thermal management. Conventional jet engines would melt under the extreme temperatures this engine endures, but the use of advanced ceramic matrix composites solved that challenge. These materials remain stable at temperatures surpassing 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, intense enough to liquefy steel, ensuring durability and reliability even in extreme conditions. Another key advancement is its three-stream architecture. Traditional jet engines rely on two airstreams, one for thrust and the other for cooling. This new design introduces a third adjustable airflow system, allowing the engine to optimize power output and fuel efficiency dynamically during flight. Artificial intelligence also plays a crucial role, with embedded sensors analyzing over 10,000 data points per second. These constant micro-adjustments fine-tune the engine's performance in real time, much like a high-performance race car being continuously optimized by an expert mechanic. Maintenance requirements have been significantly reduced. Older jet engines required frequent overhauls, but predictive maintenance sensors now detect wear and potential failures before they escalate. The Air Force estimates this will cut maintenance time by 40% and save approximately $100 million per engine over its lifespan. The engine's electrical output has also been redefined, generating over 250 kilowatts, enough to power 200 homes. This surplus enables the integration of next-generation sensor systems and potential future energy-based weapons, capabilities that older aircraft simply cannot support. With its variable cycle system, acceleration has reached unprecedented levels. During tests, pilots demonstrated the ability to shift from cruise mode to maximum afterburner so rapidly that tracking systems struggle to record the transition. The jet can achieve supersonic speeds without relying on traditional afterburner methods, a feat once thought impossible. Advanced cooling systems and heat exchangers further enhance the engine's ability to manage extreme temperatures. It can withstand heat loads 15% greater than current fighter engines, allowing radar and electronic warfare systems to operate at full capacity without overheating. This is not just an engine upgrade, but a complete reinvention of aerospace propulsion. By merging intelligence, efficiency, and raw power, engineers have created a system that redefines the limits of aerial combat technology. With such an incredible engine powering this technological marvel, how did the rest of the world react to a weapon that could potentially change military strategy forever? When news of the new fighter jet broke, it sent shockwaves through the global military community. It was a defining moment that forced nations to rethink their defense strategies overnight. China's response was swift and strategic. Within hours of the first leaks, high-ranking military officials gathered for urgent discussions. State-run media aired reports analyzing how this aircraft had completely shifted the balance of power in the Pacific. Behind closed doors, military analysts realized their most advanced fighter program was now outdated before it even entered full production. The gap was undeniable. Years of investment in cutting-edge radar technology had been rendered useless against a jet they simply could not track. A classified report acknowledged that China was at least a decade behind in stealth and AI-driven aviation. In a bid to close the gap, the government immediately funneled an additional $50 billion into fast-tracking its next generation of fighter development. Russia faced a similar reality check. For the first time in years, military leaders openly admitted that they had been outpaced. Their highly anticipated Su-75 fighter, once expected to challenge Western air superiority, was abruptly sent back for redesign. Emergency meetings became routine as defense officials scrambled to reassess their strategy. Every calculation and every assumption about aerial warfare had to be reconsidered in light of this breakthrough. NATO wasted no time in responding. The alliance immediately began overhauling its entire air defense strategy, something that hadn't been done since the Cold War. Member nations rushed to upgrade radar systems and defense networks, realizing that their existing military frameworks had become outdated overnight. In Europe, the impact was immediate. France and Germany, deep into their next-generation fighter program, quickly sought technical briefings from the Pentagon. Their project, once seen as cutting-edge, now felt like an early prototype compared to the advancements unveiled by the United States. Israel, always at the forefront of military innovation, launched a full-scale modernization of its air defense network under Project Sky Shield 2.0. Billions were poured into developing new detection systems, all aimed at solving a single problem: finding a way to track what seemed to be an invisible aircraft. The diplomatic landscape shifted just as rapidly. Nations that had maintained cautious relationships with the United States suddenly became more interested in closer defense ties. Finland and Poland pushed for increased military cooperation, while South Korea offered direct funding for future technological developments. The financial markets reacted just as strongly. Defense stocks saw wild fluctuations, with companies tied to the jet's development experiencing massive surges in value. Lockheed Martin alone saw a 12% spike, adding billions to its market cap on the strength of its involvement in the project. Military strategists across the world found themselves back at the drawing board. Years of planning, training, and defensive posturing were suddenly irrelevant. The idea of air superiority had been rewritten, not by fleet size or firepower, but by technological dominance. For the defense industry, the fallout was immediate. Radar manufacturers watched their most advanced systems become obsolete in an instant. Countries that had invested heavily in air denial strategies now faced an uncomfortable truth: they were no longer in control of their skies. Seeing as the entire world is transformed by this technological breakthrough, what does the future hold for military aviation and global security? When military strategists envisioned the future of aviation, they knew they needed something far beyond a standard fighter jet. What took shape was a constantly evolving technological powerhouse designed to outpace any threat for decades to come. The Air Force wasted no time rolling out its deployment plan. By 2025, the first squadron would be fully operational, 5 years ahead of schedule. A dozen of these groundbreaking aircraft would take to the skies, marking a massive leap in combat readiness. Just 2 years later, 5 entire squadrons would be fully integrated into military operations, reshaping aerial warfare at an unprecedented speed. But the impact didn't stop with the Air Force. The technological breakthroughs immediately began reshaping other military branches. The Navy saw the potential and began adapting the AI system for its aircraft, while drone control systems inspired an entirely new standard for military aviation. Pilot training also underwent a complete transformation. The Air Force introduced a program called Next Generation Airmanship, designed to prepare pilots for a new era of aviation. Rather than just operating the aircraft, pilots would work alongside AI, learning to command intelligent systems in ways that had never been done before. Even the commercial aviation industry took notice. The ultra-efficient engines designed for military use were quickly being studied for civilian aircraft. Airlines recognized the potential to cut fuel costs and boost operational efficiency, setting the stage for a ripple effect that would extend far beyond the battlefield. The advanced maintenance technology developed for the fighter jet promised to reshape the commercial aviation industry. Its AI-driven system could detect potential mechanical issues before they happen, helping airlines avoid costly repairs and unexpected delays. The financial impact alone was staggering, with the potential to save the industry millions in maintenance costs. Beyond aviation, the artificial intelligence powering this aircraft marked a turning point in human-machine collaboration. The system didn't just respond to commands, it anticipated needs and made real-time decisions, unlocking possibilities that stretched far beyond military applications. Global security dynamics shifted in ways that couldn't be ignored. This fighter jet wasn't just a weapon, it was a statement. Its sheer existence changed how military powers calculated risk and strategy. The psychological weight of knowing such an advanced aircraft was in play could act as a deterrent, preventing conflicts before they even started. Unlike previous generations of military aircraft that quickly became outdated, this jet was designed to evolve. Its systems could be upgraded like software, ensuring it remained at the cutting edge for decades. Military analysts projected that with continuous updates, this single platform could maintain air superiority for at least 30 years, an unprecedented lifespan in modern warfare. The project also led to unexpected diplomatic shifts. Countries that hadn't traditionally collaborated on defense technology began exploring new partnerships. The fighter jet's development had proven that cutting-edge research could serve as a diplomatic bridge, bringing together nations with a shared interest in technological advancement. Its influence reached deep into academic and research communities as well. Universities and technology institutes saw a surge in funding for aerospace engineering, artificial intelligence, and advanced materials science. The fighter jet had sparked a new wave of scientific curiosity, pushing researchers to explore frontiers they hadn't imagined before. Even military training had to adapt. Flight simulators were redesigned to reflect the aircraft's sophisticated AI and combat systems, preparing a new generation of pilots to operate in an era where human skill and machine intelligence work seamlessly together. This wasn't just about a single aircraft. It was about redefining the limits of human potential, proving that technology could not only reshape battlefields, but also influence industries, diplomacy, and innovation. It is a symbol of progress, proof that the boundaries of what was possible were always meant to be pushed further. The world is stunned as the U.S. unveils a groundbreaking anti-gravity fighter jet, ushering in a new era of warfare. Packed with advanced technology, this revolutionary aircraft is set to dominate the skies and redefine military power. In a world riddled with conflict, this advanced weapon could reshape the future of combat forever. But what exactly makes this fighter so special? And how will it affect the global military landscape? Join us as we explore the features of the new 2025 U.S. revolutionary anti-gravity fighter jet that is ready for battle. The TR-3A Black Manta is one of the U.S. military aircraft that has a unique triangular shape with smooth, flat surfaces designed to make it stealthy and nearly invisible to radar. It has captured the public's imagination as a black project aircraft, meaning it is part of secretive, classified military operations. It is a stealth reconnaissance aircraft, which means it is designed to spy on enemy activities without being detected. Its shape is designed like a flat triangle with rounded edges, which help it evade radar systems, making it nearly invisible while flying over enemy territory. This stealth capability is one of the main roles of this fighter jet, and also to gather intelligence and provide information on high-value targets. Like other stealth aircraft, its design reduces the chances of being picked up by radar, giving it an advantage during missions where surprise is the goal. Many people picture this jet with the black triangular UFOs, meaning unidentified flying objects. People often say they see large, silent, triangular-shaped objects with bright lights at the corners. This was seen near military bases, making people wonder if what they saw was actually the advanced military aircraft called the TR-3A. This aircraft has the same stealth programs that produced aircraft like the Nighthawk, which was developed as a support plane and used to complement stealth bombers during missions. One of the roles of TR-3A is to scout ahead, gather intelligence, and ensure the path is clear for other stealth aircraft. Now you see why it is called the reconnaissance craft, because it is a plane that can gather and relay crucial information. It uses special technology to enhance its stealth capabilities, and this includes radar-absorbing materials and coatings similar to those used on other stealth aircraft. The craft's triangular shape also contributes to its stealth, helping it avoid detection. It operates at high altitudes and flies at speeds faster than traditional planes. It is often compared with other legendary Black Project aircraft like the Lockheed Have Blue, the F-117 Nighthawk, and the SR-71 Blackbird. Let us take a look at these fighter jets. In 1970, during the height of the Cold War, the U.S. military decided to find a way to counter the sophisticated Soviet radar systems. Traditional jets were fast, but they were easy to spot with radar. So the U.S. needed something entirely new. They thought of an aircraft that could avoid being seen in the first place. This idea gave birth to Have Blue, the experimental project that led to the first operational stealth fighter, the F-117 Nighthawk. Have Blue was not a typical jet because it looked different. It looked more like an alien craft with sharp angles and a very unusual shape. This odd design was not just for show. Every part of it had a purpose. The aim was to make the plane invisible to radar. When radar waves hit a normal plane, they bounce back, allowing enemies to detect it. But this aircraft was different because its flat surfaces and sharp angles can scatter the radar waves, bouncing them away. This was called stealth geometry, and it was completely new at the time. It seems the engineers used complex computer models to create this shape, which made this fighter jet extremely hard to detect. The plane was also covered with special materials that absorbed radar waves, making it even more stealthy. Together, the unique shape and the radar-absorbing coating allowed this aircraft to slip past enemy radar systems. This was a major breakthrough, and before this, no one had ever built a plane that could hide so effectively from radar. This fighter faced a lot of challenges, as we all know that creating such an aircraft will not be easy. First, its sharp angles and flat surfaces made it difficult to fly. Most planes have smooth aerodynamic shapes that help them glide through the air. However, the design of this jet created a lot of air resistance, and that made it harder to control. Pilots had to be extra careful when flying it, especially during takeoffs and landings. The engineers at Lockheed worked hard to make the plane stable, but it was never as smooth or agile as other jets. Its purpose was stealth, not speed or ability to easily change directions. Another challenge was the heat from the engines, because radar is not the only way to detect a plane. Heat-seeking missiles can also find their targets by following the heat from their engines. To reduce this risk, the engines of this aircraft were buried deep within the plane, with special vents to cool the exhaust. This helped hide the heat signs and made it even harder for enemies to track it. Still, keeping the engines cool was tricky and required constant fine-tuning. The Have Blue project was highly kept a secret, and only a few people knew about it. The testing was done in isolated areas to avoid drawing attention. The first prototype took flight in 1977, and it showed that the stealth concept worked as the plane could fly past radar systems without being detected. This success proved that stealth technology was not just a dream, but it is real and can change the future of air combat. But despite its successes, this fighter jet was not perfect. It was an experimental aircraft, meant to test ideas and push boundaries. Two of these aircraft prototypes were built, and both were eventually lost in crashes. These crashes show the challenges of flying such a unique and difficult-to-control plane. But even though it never went into production, Its lessons paved the way for the F-117 Nighthawk, the first operational stealth fighter. The Nighthawk took everything learned from the Have Blue and improved on it, becoming an important part of the U.S. Air Force's stealth fleet. But we cannot ignore the impact of Have Blue because it proved that stealth technology was possible and can set the stage for future stealth aircraft like the B-2 Spirit bomber, F-22 Raptor, and F-35 Lightning II. Today, we now understand why stealth is a critical part of military aviation, and it all started with this special aircraft and its strange angular design. This small experimental aircraft showed that sometimes thinking differently can lead to revolutionary changes. It brought a new idea of making planes invisible to radar and turned it into a reality. The engineers and pilots who worked on the project were pioneers, pushing the limits of what was possible with aviation technology. While the plane itself may be gone, its legacy lives on in every stealth aircraft that flies today. Now let's take a look at the first operational stealth fighter we mentioned earlier, the Nighthawk. The Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk is a legendary aircraft known for being the first operational stealth fighter jet. Unlike other planes, it was built to be nearly invisible to radar, just like the Have Blue, allowing it to carry out dangerous missions deep in enemy territory without being detected. It was a game changer for military aviation, combining stealth with precision strike capability in a way that had never been seen before. And this fighter jet was developed in secret also during the war. At that time, the U.S. military wanted a plane that could avoid enemy radar and deliver precise strikes. But due to the failure of Have Blue, the creation of the Nighthawk became operational in 1983. The public, however, did not know about it until 1988, when the U.S. government finally acknowledged its existence. The F-117's design is one of the most unique things about it. Unlike traditional fighter jets, the Nighthawk does not have smooth curves. Instead, it had sharp angles and flat surfaces known as a faceted design, and it worked by scattering radar waves in different directions instead of bouncing them back to their source. By doing this, the plane was much harder for enemy radar systems to detect. People often described it as looking like a flying diamond or even a spaceship from science fiction. One of the impressive features of this fighter aircraft was its special coating, because the entire plane was covered with a material that could absorb radar waves, further reducing the ability to easily detect it. This combination of its unique shape and radar-absorbing coating made it incredibly hard to spot, even when flying directly over enemy air defenses. However, these design elements made the plane less aerodynamic, meaning it cannot move as quickly as other fighter jets. Most jets always focus on speed, an easy way to change directions, but this aircraft was different. It was all about stealth. It was not the fastest plane in the sky, nor was it meant to engage in combat with enemy aircraft. Instead, its primary role was to sneak into enemy territory, hit important targets with pinpoint accuracy, and escape without being seen. The Nighthawk can carry 2 laser-guided bombs, which allows it to destroy critical targets like enemy bunkers, radar sites, and command centers. During this period, precision was very important, and this outstanding jet stands for this purpose. The F-117 was also packed with advanced technology for its time. Its cockpit had state-of-the-art systems that helped the pilot to go through dangerous areas and lock onto targets with incredible precision. The plane could operate at night too, adding to its stealthy reputation. This earned it the nickname Nighthawk, since it could move under the cover of darkness and stay hidden. Pilots used computers and laser systems to guide their bombs, making sure they hit the target without alerting the enemy. We all know that flying this type of fighter jet cannot be that simple. Because of its sharp angles and unique shape, the plane cannot be handled like other jets. It was less stable and had to be controlled carefully. Pilots had to go through intense training to learn how to fly it safely. However, once they mastered its controls, it became a powerful tool in their hands. The plane's stealth features and high-tech systems made it a valuable asset for the U.S. Air Force. Even though it was not the easiest jet to fly, the F-117 first saw combat in 1989 during the U.S. invasion of Panama, where it successfully hit important targets, but it truly made a name for itself during the Gulf War in 1991. The Nighthawk flew dozens of missions over heavily defended areas, striking enemy command centers and military targets while staying hidden from radar. Its ability to carry out these missions without being detected showed the world how effective stealth technology could be. the aircraft became a sign of modern warfare, proving that stealth and precision could make a huge difference on the battlefield. Despite its many strengths, this jet was not invincible. In 1999, during the conflict in Kosovo, an enemy missile managed to shoot down one of the Nighthawks, and this showed that even stealth technology had its limits. However, the pilot survived, and the incident was seen as something unusual that does not happen often. So the jet continued to serve as a crucial part of the Air Force for several more years. In 2008, the F-117 was officially retired, and newer and more advanced stealth aircraft, like the F-22 Raptor and B-2 Spirit, took its place. However, the Nighthawk was officially the first plane seen in public to show that stealth could be more powerful than speed or raw firepower. Its legacy lives on in the modern stealth fighters and bombers that continue to shape the future of aerial combat. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird is also one of the most extraordinary planes ever built. It was developed in the 1960s, and it was designed to fly faster and higher than anything else in the sky. The aim was simple, but extremely ambitious, and that was to create a plane that could fly deep into enemy territory, take detailed pictures, and return safely, and this must be done without being seen or caught. This was during the Cold War when the United States and the Soviet Union were trying to outsmart each other. This fighter jet was the U.S. secret weapon for gathering intelligence quickly and safely. It was incredibly fast as it could fly more than 3 times the speed of sound, which is over 2,200 miles per hour. That is faster than a bullet, and this means it can cross the United States in just over an hour. To give you an idea of how fast this is, most commercial planes fly at about 500 miles per hour. It was built to outrun anything that tried to catch it, and if an enemy fired a missile, this fighter jet could quickly speed up and leave it far behind. This made it nearly impossible to shoot down. The design was also special because it had a long, sleek body that helped it slice through the air at high speeds. It was painted black to help absorb heat, which is why it earned the nickname Blackbird. The black paint also helps to reduce its radar signature, making it harder for enemies to detect. But the plane was not just about looking cool, it was built to be stealthy. Its shape and materials made it harder to spot on radar, which was very important for its missions. The engines were one of the incredible parts of it because this plane used 2 huge engines called Pratt & Whitney J58 turbojets. These engines were so powerful that they let the plane fly at extremely high speeds and altitudes. At its fastest, the engines would shift into something called ramjet mode. This basically turned them into rocket engines, allowing this fighter jet to go even faster. But flying this fast created a lot of heat, and the plane's skin would get so hot that it expanded by several inches during flight. To deal with this, the engineers built it mainly from a strong, heat-resistant metal called titanium. Getting enough titanium for the Blackbird was a very big issue, though. A lot of it had to be secretly bought from the Soviet Union, even though they were the main threat and the reason the plane was built to spy on them, which was surprising. But flying at high speeds was not the only trick this aircraft had. It can also fly very high, up to 85,000 feet above the ground. At this height, pilots could see the round shape of the Earth in the dark space above them. Flying so high kept it out of reach of most enemy planes and missiles, but being so high up came with its issues. The pilots had to wear special suits, similar to those used by astronauts, to protect them from the cold and lack of oxygen. Going at that speed and altitude also put a lot of stress on the aircraft, so it had to be built to withstand extreme conditions. Now, talking about the main purpose, the US built this aircraft, and that was to spy on their enemies. It carried advanced cameras and sensors that could take incredibly detailed pictures of enemy installations and military activities. This allowed the US military to know what its enemies were doing and plan accordingly. No other plane could do what the Blackbird did because of its features, and this made it one of the most valuable tools for gathering intelligence during the Cold War. But despite its impressive capabilities, this fighter jet faced a lot of difficulties. One of the biggest problems was fuel. Because the plane flew so fast and generated so much heat, sometimes its titanium skin expands, causing fuel to leak from its tanks while it was on the ground. This means that the plane had to be refueled right after takeoff. The SR-71 was very expensive to operate because it needed special fuel, and maintaining such a high-performance aircraft was costly. Over time, other technologies like satellites started to take over some of its intelligence-gathering roles, and this led to the Blackbird being retired in the late 1990s. But even after it stopped flying, it remained famous for its speed, altitude, and ability to evade detection. The pilots who flew this fighter jet were some of the best experts in the world. Controlling a plane that flew so fast and at such high altitudes required special training. The cockpit was complex, with advanced instruments that allowed the pilots to control the aircraft at high speeds and altitudes. They had to wear pressurized suits, and the conditions were so extreme that even small mistakes could be dangerous. But the pilots loved the challenge, and flying the plane was like piloting a rocket across the sky, and they took great pride in their missions. In its time, this aircraft was able to set many records, and it still holds the record for the fastest air-breathing manned aircraft. Even today, decades after it last flew, no other plane has matched its speed and altitude capabilities. It is a true icon of aviation, representing what can be achieved when engineers and pilots push the limits of what is possible. It showed that speed and stealth could be combined to create a plane that was nearly unstoppable. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link appearing on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.